Hi,
Okay.
good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, what part of the world. We just want to welcome you today to another series, another episode of our Relationship Talk webinar. I am Dana Haselum, and this is my lovely husband, Nick Haselum, who is co hosting with me today. And we will be discussing what everyone needs to know about as long as you're in a relationship, guys. Communication. Yeah? Communication. We'll be discussing positive communication for successful relationships. And today we'll be looking at keys, strategies, and also real life stories. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers today with us, and I am so excited. And also, Nick, I believe you are sharing the same sentiment with me to hear to hear exactly what all of the speakers have to say. Now, before we get started, we just want to talk about the mission and why we're doing all of this. We would just like to say that lasting partner relationship possess fundamental qualities as we know it, and we just want to ensure that persons they have practical and strategic steps that can help them in their relationships. I'm talking from a very personal place here. I have been in an abusive relationship and, well, a failed relationship before. And coming out of it, there's so much I have learned through my story. I just want to help others. My husband and I, we're all in the mission about empowering other people, and we have connected with the Loaniglobal support, and we're just going to talk a bit about that. So, ladies of all nations international, we have a number of our speakers who are here with us today. They are actually from the Ladies of All Nations International Charity Group as well. So it is a non-profit organization which brings together women from all backgrounds and cultures and emerging leaders who have a shared vision of driving better change in today's global communities. Now, guys, for those of you all who are now joining us, Loni is part of 100 countries globally, and we're all on a mission of promoting diversity, inclusiveness, and we're covering all areas of equality and diversity. Now, we have connected with the Loni Global Support Team, and if you're listening today and you know of someone or you are that person who needs that support, you can feel free to reach out to us. We will be providing you with all of the contact details that you need, especially during this very difficult time, Nick, as we know, the global pandemic and what is taking place at the moment. It has been very difficult for all of us, whatever parts of the world we're joining. And the global support team, they're people within the healthcare professional, public sectors, doctors, solicitors, qualified counselors, therapists, advocates, and persons like us, coaches. And we're here to provide that support. So I hope that has given you an overview about what we're doing. And today, before I go any further, my husband, obviously, who is very eager because I'm just talking away, would like to say a few things about us, our mission, our heart, and that as well. So I'd just like to welcome Nick Haselum.
Thank you very much, Dana. So this is my lovely wife, Dana, and I wanted to take a little bit of a time to echo her welcome to everybody who's taken the time out of their day to join us today. Welcome. I hope you have something really excellent and profound that you can take from the expertise and the insights that all of these speakers bring today. There are 6 speakers that we have today with from all walks of life and all different levels of understanding and something that you can bring in and take away for yourself. Just to talk a little bit about us, we are a husband and wife motivational team. We're co-founders of a program called Mindset Mastery. We are speakers, authors, and coaches to both individuals and into the corporate world. And our mission and our motive is to empower minds to empower the world. So what is Mindset Mastery? Mindset Mastery is something that we've learned over the years and turned into a set of condensed topics that we found to be most helpful to build your personal and professional development going forward and make you a better person, a better product, and a better force in your own professional and personal life. And the topics are, just to name a few: overcoming fear, resilience, self-motivation, stress management, confidence, positive communication, and goal setting. And this is just to name a few. Now, one of the things that I really enjoy about being able to share this and be in these programs just like this one is that we can work with my wife, we can work together, and we can share in what is essentially an interest and a hobby of ours, which is to create and deepen our own understanding of life and build our own sense of fun and adventure. By knowing more, we can do more, and we can build up the fundamental values for what is a healthy and happy marriage, a successful life together, an adventurous life. And all of that is part of building yourself, building your understanding, so that you can make your steps towards something that you want to be. I think a byword for our own relationship is adventure. And our first date was a sign of what was to come, and it was an adventure. We started in one side of Spain, and we worked our way overland through France, up to Belgium, down through Germany, into Switzerland, into Italy, into Greece, and then finally back home in the course of about 24 days. And that was our first date. And we did so many things that we never would have thought possible if it wasn't for each other. And this was skydiving, bungee jumping, camping. It was actually my first time camping, both of our first time camping. And it's really just how we started is how we want to carry on. And it's our passion to build both ourselves, to keep going in this adventure, and also to give an insight into others and give them the opportunity to do the same. And this is why we're contributing at a non-profit level to this very program. So we've connected with Loaniglobal support to found Realationship Talks. Realationship Talks. It's a bit of a play on words, where it's real relationship. And it's to help and assist couples, and it's going to be part of our mission to help others on their journeys and extend the shared wisdom and experience of so many people, to see if we can bring that insight and maybe really impact people's lives. So like I said, we're joined today by 6 fantastic speakers, and we're going to discuss communication. This is a really fundamental aspect to a successful relationship, and we'll be going more into this in just a moment, and we'll be hearing about the experiences and wisdom from all of our speakers. So I really recommend that you grab a drink, we grab a snack, we certainly grab the notepad, very important, and our loving partner, and we take a nice hour or so to discuss the importance of communication in our relationship.
All right, there we have it. Thank you so much, my darling husband. Today, it's all about communication, guys. I have taken, actually, this is a bit about me. I've done a degree in communications in university. And after doing communications for I guess it was 4 years. I've taken communications. At the end of it all, I realized I still knew very little about communication at the end of it, because it's more of a practical thing that we have to do. It's something that's daily done. And within the context of relationship, it is so important that we understand how to communicate, because a lot of times we get into relationships, but we're not provided with the strategy. We can go to university, we can get degrees, we can go to school, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we would have acquired the skills that are needed for a successful relationship. But today we trust that with the enlightenment coming from 6 fantastic speakers, we can have something that you can take into your own life, apply it, and most of all, make a better relationship for you and your partner. Yeah. So guys, today, so first of all, when we're talking about communication, what are we referring to? We're referring to verbal, and nonverbal communication. So it's not just what we say, but it's how we say it. It is our body language. It is what we're trying to communicate with each other. And it's building on that connection. So today we'll be covering the common causes that would provide difficulties within a relationship, and also key strategies that can help you guys have a better, more fulfilling relationship. So we are joined today by Josine Abrahams, Harpal Singh, Dr. Precious Stowey, Seema Donak, Adrija Biswas, and last but not least at all, Buki Addison Loy. So just a bit about a poll that Nick and we were looking. We have been doing our research because as we shared with you guys last time, we're working on writing a book at this time on love, on our relationship, to help other people, to help everyone. And I know that our speakers today, they too would have been writing, or they have their books that are out. And certainly that is the case of our first speaker. Now, there is a poll, Nick, that says that mental health professionals have found that communication problems are cited as the most common factor that leads to divorce. 65% of persons, of healthcare professionals have said this. And this is also followed by the inability to resolve conflicts. So it is so important when we think about communication issues, that is going to definitely help us solve conflicts. It's going to help us relate better. It can help us with feeling more positively towards each other, going through difficulties and challenges, as all of us do within our relationship. By communication, we will understand how to work through these issues together to have a beautiful relationship. So guys, this is taking us right into a talk with Josine Abrahams. So Josine, I know that you're here with us, and Josine is a multi-award winning author. She has written several books, and I have known Josine. She's such a phenomenal, beautiful soul, and I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say with us today. She is the Africa chairperson for Ladies of All Nations International and the founder of Peace and Global Women. She's working in collaboration with all women worldwide affected by domestic violence and abuse. Her focus is mainly on African women who experienced and those experiencing abuse now. She is an inspirational speaker, and she helps women to find peace and comfort. And her mantra is speak and heal. So guys, I really am excited. Nick and I were excited to hear from Josine. She is going to tell us about a bit of a story. So there is a lot of experience coming from this lady, a lot of heart, a lot of passion. So I encourage you to just listen with open ears. And definitely my husband is here ready to take his notes as well. And she's going to tell us some of the things that have caused issues within her relationship before. She would also provide advice, obviously coming from a communication standpoint. And she is going to tell us a bit about her book as well. So Josine, without further ado, I would like to welcome you, and our audience would like to welcome you as well.
Hello, thank you, Dana. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josine Abrahams, and I'm glad to be here. I'm the African chair for Loani, and I represent women. I help women to find confidence in themselves. Why do I have to do that? I've been through some issues which didn't give me confidence to speak. I was unable, I was just suffocated in my heart, and I couldn't speak. I got married at an early stage, and through that, it was a lot of culture problem and communication problem, really, to be honest. I was so glad when you asked me to speak, because I thought of myself, revisit that time when I was married, whilst I was young, and what I was going through and what happened and how my marriages couldn't work. It's because of communication problems. And one being the African woman, I couldn't understand more about that culture, which I needed to understand. So I am the author of several books, but my book I'm going to share with you this afternoon is Peace After the Storm. Why did I write that book? I wrote that book because of what I experienced as a woman, as an African woman in my marriages. It's because I was immature. I got married very young, and a lot of things was just like it happened from school age when we were young, when you grow up with power with your friends and doing all sorts of things. You don't seem to care really at that age. I got married at 22 years and I got my baby at 23. 23 years, I had a baby already. So you can tell there is a lot of immaturity in that. The main issues that causes problems in those sort of marriages with immaturity is the time you take to know each other, time you take to court one another. You didn't give yourself enough time, Josine, to understand this person. So if you don't have enough time to know your partner, to understand from the other part what they really want in life and how they're going um, to go in this journey called marriage, and you don't agree in a lot of stuff and just quickly get together, you haven't done yourself a favor. And I come from that angle because I was marrying because of competition, because of more my friends are married. So why me? Whoever I go out with and he says the word marriage, I was jumping into it because I thought, oh, well, this is how you get respected as an African woman. And exactly, that's how they respect you. There is a lot of stereotyping in Africa. When you are not married at a certain age, they marry so early. One, because of poverty. Two, because of competition. Three, because of fear of victimization, because my peers, when they look at me and see me without a husband, they are trying to conclude already. They already a conclusion about you. The minute I start going out there and playing, having friends like boys or anything, they are already labeled me because I have passed that age where I'm supposed to have been married. And when they look at me like a loose woman because I'm like sort of playing with every Jack and Jill. So they don't realize the pressure which I'm being given as one of those girls in the street. So again, that immaturity pushed me to say, okay, I need to get married and be like everyone else. My friends, they're all married. They've got this, they've done this, they do. So I thought that's the only way to be, to be loved or to be known in the community. When you are married, you get all that respect because you are a married woman. Now you can do every other thing what a married woman do. It's the culture problem, lack of understanding each other before marriage, just quicking in getting married without knowing the person. What I would advise is for anyone who wants to get married, get to know your partner. Get to know the do's and don'ts. Get to understand each other. Even if it's during my age, it was get to know even the in-laws, because the in-laws were the people who were causing a lot of problem in marriages. So if you are not aware of that, if you are not aware of your surroundings, if you are not aware about these people's culture, it will fail you. So it has failed me on 2-3 occasions. The first one, my husband died. The second one was an abuser. The third one was an abuser. And I left the marriage. Up to now, I never thought of getting married again, but I learned a lesson out of it. I didn't just suffer the problems I went through with this culture problem. I didn't suffer the problems I went through with this marriage and the health issues which were involved. So I am expected to behave like a woman in a community who is aware of the problems. But culturally, the main problem, again, I put it towards the parenting, because if your parents haven't taken enough time to explain to you what you are putting yourself through, how you are going to be involved into this marriage, it doesn't work. At least you guys of today, you are very lucky because you can use the internet to learn. You can have friends to discuss what is important about marriages. But our problem of my generation was, it was all secret. You can't discuss about all these things about marriage. You can't discuss about sex. You can't discuss about how you're going to behave in the matrimonial home. It was all like secret. It had to be done by only one person in the family, who is an aunt, maybe the sister to my brother. The sister to my father, who is the one who is able to tell you all the things you need to expect in marriage. But they never did that. So it fails the culture of my age. So what I'm saying to you is, you're very lucky because you've got everything. You've got the exposure of internet. You've got the exposure of reading papers. You've got all the know-how, friends who are quite educated, that they can help you to explain and go experience the marriage, even if you are not married yet. So this is the major problem. It's the culture problem. The quick you get to marriage without experiencing or knowing the person you're going to marry, you've got a problem. Definitely, you've got a problem, because you need to know one another as a friends. You need to become friends first of all before you even think of getting married. I'm glad, Dana, you said with your husband you went all over because you were knowing each other. If you didn't do that, right now you could have problem to start clashing because you don't know this person. This person you're marrying is just a stranger, because I have only known this guy when I'm marrying them. I only know them maybe for a year. But there is so much to a human being that if you don't see them physically, in the physical, you wouldn't know. And these are the things which are a problem. And remember, Africa and transportation, to go to a place, to need to know somebody, you need to be very close to them. You need to see each other now and again. Our time, it was the time of letter writing. I write to say, okay, thank you, I love you. And then you post the letter, it goes with the post and comes back. And I don't know this person. Maybe my husband was in the army. So this person was in the army. My first husband, I had no problem. It was just that unfortunate. He had a car accident and died on the spot. These two following marriages were all full of abuse because I didn't have time to know them. I didn't see them. They pretend. People portray a different themselves if you don't know them. So if you get along with that, you are in trouble. So that's how I get to, in trouble, because I was just doing it for my peers so that I could be like my peers without knowing the know-how of marriage, without the love. Because if I think of saying I was in love, it was just, the problem again in Africa is once you see you, they say, I love you. And in this country, if anyone comes to me and say, I love you, it's spooky. People run away because how can you love me? You don't even know me. How can you love me? In Africa, when they tell you, I love you, you think, okay, I've found the man now, he loves me. And he keeps saying that now and again, but he doesn't mean it for real. He's maybe doing it because of culture as well. Maybe his people, they are forcing him to get married as I was being forced. So they are doing that just because of culture. They don't take time to know each other. So what I say for anyone who would want to get married, get to know your partner. Just read them like a book, to be honest. If you have to go anywhere, understand each other, understand the do's and don'ts. Make sure your way of talking, the communication itself has to be humble. It has to be loving. It has to be caring. Because if you speak to somebody without care, without love, you can utter any rubbish, any nonsense, and you annoy the other person. The minute you start annoying each other because of lack of good communication, then the love is not there anymore. No matter how you can force it, you can go to the bedroom and do all the bedroom thing, but the truth of the matter is, if the communication is not there, then the love itself is not there anymore. Because the problem with this love, it has to be us within you. It comes from your heart. For you to enjoy this man sexually, you have to love him. You have to speak to him, upgrade each other, talk about each other nicely, talk nice things to each other, because the minute you say, oh, this, and you say it in a rude way, you become bully, and this other person is being affected, it doesn't work. So as a married couple, make sure you give yourself time to speak, get to know each other, don't sleep with hurt. If you say something today and I'm disappointed and I'm your partner, I make sure we discuss that, we iron that before we even make love. Because if you don't speak about it, then you sleep with me today. Tomorrow, you do the same thing and we sleep with me without talking. This thing is going to carry over. The minute it carry over, it boils up because you are being hurt inside you. And the more you get hurt, the more you get angry, the more you start to annoy each other. Then the rest, is divorce or fighting. So guys, be careful when you are saying to somebody you love him. Make sure you communicate in the right way, in the proper way. Respect each other in the making love. Respect each other when you are speaking to one another. Give each other space when you have realized that, I've annoyed him. Okay, I've said sorry, but I need to give him space for him to digest. Was this a genuine sorry? Did she say this from the heart? Is it going to change? Don't say sorry today, then tomorrow you repeat the same thing. Tomorrow you repeat the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. When you say sorry, give yourself time to understand. The sorry I've said has to work. It has to be seen by your deeds. When you do the right thing, then the sorry works. So I am just learn to accept each other's differences. When you do things, don't write off your partner by just saying, because you said this is him, he doesn't know anything. Let's encourage each other as partners. Let's accept each other's differences. Let's love each other from the heart. Let's communicate it the right way. Because if you don't do that, you don't win the story and you are not going anywhere. Anyway, the result is divorce. There is no love. The minute you start going to discuss what is happening in your house with a friend or a cousin or the mother-in-law, that means the love is no more. You have lost it. You need to start communicating the two of you and agreeing the two of you. The other thing that makes the marriages fail is lack of sex. I'm sorry, I have to say it, because if you don't enjoy each other in the marriage, then there is a problem. One of you is bound to go and cheat. So enjoy yourself. Start to understand each other. Start to know the way you make your love. Have I satisfied this man? Have I satisfied this woman? Have we done it the way we want? Because if you lack that, then there's no love. You need to have that love to communicate properly. You need to have to think, oh, it's getting up to 5 p.m. I need to see my husband. I'm going home from work. I'm going to see my husband. Have that something to look forward to, say, if I see him today, I want to do this. I want to do this. And you love each other. You spend the whole day texting each other, even at work, because you love each other. You can't miss each other. So I don't want to take much of your time, Dana. And I have written several books. As I say, I represent the company called Peace for Global Women. And this company, it's for women. I teach all these I'm speaking to you about, because I've gone through it and I know the failures, why my marriage fails. I know, and if I talk about it to my daughter, she laughs, but she's learning a lot out of what I tell her. And her marriage is intact. She doesn't have any problem. If she fails in anything, she's saying, I'm going to my mom. My mom will tell me, because we have discussed everything. We are so free about the bedroom thing, about anything. I discuss anything with my child, because I lacked that exposure from my own parents, from my own relatives. They never discussed. So I discussed that with my daughter, and she's happy, and I'm happy too that she's happy. So that's why I teach that. And I say to Loani as well, thank you very much for the exposure. They've given me so many platforms, and I'm exposed to so many platforms. Recently, I've been appointed the Pan-Africanist Chair for England through Loani. So I would like to say thank you so much, Dr. Makaka, Caroline, the CEO for Loani, because if it wasn't her, I wouldn't have been known. So I really appreciate everything. I run my own company organization as well as teaching authors how to write books. So those are the things I do in life. And I used to teach, but I'm not teaching anymore. Because of stress, I can't cope with that. So I am doing something differently in life. And I'm quite happy with what I do and learning how to communicate as well, because I communicate with all ages. My little company is caring for the elderly, and I'm quite happy because I learn still from them. And I do a lot of communication as well. So anyone who is interested with my books, who want to see what I do, just visit my website, www.peaceforglobalwomen.com. Then you can see what I do, and you can maybe learn something from it. And I can help you if you need any help in counseling, any marriage counseling, anything, our domestic abuse. If you feel you can't help it, sometimes people get suffocated and they can't ask. I'm free to be asked, I'm free to be phoned, I'm free to help. Thank you so much, Dana, for this opportunity to be on your platform. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jacine Abrahams. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
I
Josine.
do have a question for her, Joe. Is it the right time to ask questions?
You can ask a question. However, we're taking, since Josine will be leaving shortly, it is not a problem. But usually we're doing questions at the end.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, but you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, my question is, from what she was saying, she said you have to get to know your partner. But one thing, I do understand that, but one thing is, see, after a while, people change. You understand? So maybe you meet this person last year, and you already get to know him, you know his behavior or our behavior or something like that. After a couple of years, maybe through friends' influence and everything like that, they change. And you were like, I got to know this man last year or this lady last year. His behavior wasn't like that. So what happened? So what do you do in that situation?
Honey, you really need to speak. Open your mouth and address it as couples. If he really loves you and you say, honey, look, these things have changed. We never used to be like this. Why is it happening? Try and sit at the same table and discuss to iron out these problems, because if you don't speak, he will carry on doing the same thing. And if you don't find help as soon as possible together, it's gonna go problem. Talk to your husband. Say, look here, honey, we need to get some counseling. That is, if you can't do it, the two of you, you need a third person to help you to sort this out. Otherwise, if you carry on with that thing to just say, okay, it will stop, it won't stop on its own. If you see anything wrong in a relationship, the best thing is to address it straight away and make sure you iron your difference and start loving each other again.
Thank you so
Wow,
much.
thank you so much, Josine. Oh my God, Nick, you will tell me what you think, but it's really fantastic hearing from you. And some of the points that I have taken away personally from what you share, you said to accept differences. And it's not something always easy to accept differences. I came from Trinidad and Tobago, a completely different culture from my husband, who has had a British upbringing, and I can say that in many ways we're so opposite, even in terms of our personality, but is understanding each other and learning to accept each other and love each other for each other's differences. And also I love the fact that you spoke about loving and caring whenever you're speaking, whenever you're communicating, to employ love, to show care, to be kind. while you're doing it, even though these are very simple points, they're extremely profound. And I want to encourage any one of us who are listening or listeners to please purchase Josine's book. Josine, I'm not sure, can you please put your information within the chat so everyone can reach out, they can get your book and hear more about what you're doing. So really great job. In that talk was just so fantastic. Nick, what do you have to say?
I totally agree. Thank you so much, Josine, for coming to join us today. There was a lot that I really enjoyed about what you spoke about, and I've gotten a lot of notes from it. And it really makes me appreciate in this modern era how much communication is made easier by technology and the internet. When you've lived with it for the majority of your adult life, you don't really appreciate it so much, but have to write letters to people that you're
Yes.
courting or dating. That's a huge hurdle that would be easily overcome by text message or something like that, or a call, or even just being able to see each other more often. And it's something that I would definitely echo, that the groundwork for a relationship should always be built as much as possible to begin with. Otherwise, you're going to be in a very rough situation if you realize that there's something very fundamental wrong. And I also really enjoy on how you're saying that you have to be gentle in your communication and take that care in every situation. And it's just so simple, but so very applicable into every situation, where you can ask yourself, am I being gentle with my communication? And I really appreciate that. So thank you for coming on. And I'd like to share a thought for that, which is communication really to a relationship is like oxygen is to life. So without communication, oxygen is, well, without oxygen, there is no life. Without communication, there is no relationship. So with that, I just want to say thank you very much, Josine. And I'll just hand back to Dana. Did you have any other thoughts?
Oh, definitely. So, Nick, recently I've been looking at some communication statistics. So guys, we're talking here communication. Men and women have different communication complaints. Now, my husband, he can talk from his perspective, and we're really looking forward to hearing from our next speaker, I believe, who is our only male panelist today, Harpal Singh. So Harpal, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Now, there is a statistic that said 70% of experts surveyed said that men cite, and wait for it, ladies, can you guess what it is? Nagging and complaining as the top communication problem in their marriage.
And for women, their top complaint was that their spouse or their partner does not validate their opinions or feelings enough. And that's by the vast majority of those who have participated. These experts, 83% said that their spouse, male spouse, does not validate their opinions or feelings enough. So without any further ado, I'll pass on to the next speaker, who is Harpal Singh. Now, Harpal is currently the head of domestic abuse services at a leading charity. He oversees counseling, family support, and child protection, both within his service and the local council. He holds a master's in counseling and has extensive experience working within the NHS, providing counseling services and mental health therapy for those with mental health issues. He is working within his local community as a counselor, helping a wide range of people from different walks of life, and he has spent many years researching human behavior and understanding phenomena such as depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. So Harpal, I understand that you're going to be speaking about some key pointers for people to take away into their relationship, how to communicate well within your relationship, as well as the significance of non-verbal communication. Yeah. So Harpal, I'll just hand over to you. Harpal, can you still hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you guys for that great introduction. You must be reading my notes because you've literally read half of my stats out for you. However, yes, and Dana, you were quite right in saying that this communication comes into two forms. You've got non-verbal and you've got the verbal. One thing I'd like to say is I love the way you played on the words and called it a relationship, which is quite cool. Yes, you're right in terms of mental health, community, and relationships. They all are interlinked to each other in terms of how and what's being done. One thing I would like to say is a lot of people try to communicate externally, but very rarely do they communicate with themselves. I've been sitting in many rooms where I'm counselling or with people, couples, and truly working on what's going on. And what I used to say to people is, before you feel upset with the other person, just check in with yourself and go, actually, why are you angry? Why is it that you're upset? Are you upset because of something not going right? Are you angry for a different reason? Are you angry because the expectations you've got on the other person is not being fulfilled? And this is key in relationships. In a relationship, we have an expectation. You get married, and like Josie said, you get to a certain age, you get married, you have kids, you do this, you do that. That expectations can be externally and internally. It can be cultural, traditional, and family-based. Women, bygone years, were meant to look after the house, cook, clean. That's the expectation. Husband was meant to sit in front of TV, expect food to be delivered to him on 6, 7 o'clock, whatever time it is. Is that expectation there now? Is the wife expecting to cook the food, and is the husband expected to do that? Where is the communication in this? We're now living in the 21st century, yet our expectations of who we are, what we are, happily marriage is a fairy tale. There is no such thing. What we need to do is really check in with ourselves and go, actually, what is it that we want? And that needs to be then discussed. We need to discuss our stuff. We need to talk. And like you said, 70% of men said that nagging is one of their pet hates. But why is that? Because my research I found is a lot of men don't listen attentively, and they don't show genuine interest in the actual person talking. So when there's no genuine interest, or you're not listening actively, it becomes nagging. And the same point is said over and over and over again. Until you don't check in and go, actually, what is my wife, husband, partner, what are you going to call it, together? You're not going to spend time. If you're going to be on your phone or watching TV or absent from the conversation is just going to go on and drag on. I told you last week you need to clean out X, Y, Z. 6 months later, I've told you 6 months ago to do this. Why is it not happening? Because you're not valuing what's being said. And that's another thing of communication, is valuing, giving time. Communication is not just what you say or what you do, it's the amount of time you give the individual. If your manager calls you up and goes, excuse me, Harper, I need you in the office right now. You drop everything and you go in the office and you talk to your manager. Yeah, if your wife, your spouse, whoever your girlfriend, boyfriend comes and says, I need to talk to you, it's like, yeah, cool. I'm busy now, I'll talk to you later, or I'll listen to you later. And then when you're in that conversation, you're still half-hearted because you're focusing on what's happening at the football, or what's happening on EastEnders or everything there. So you have to work time for yourself. And that time has to be of quality. You're in a relationship to make it work. Relationships, not 50-50. It's not a financial transaction that everyone's got to work 50% of the time. It's 100% of the time, day in, day out. You also need to be able to see from the other person's perspective. Check in with them and go, actually, you've made food, you've done this, or you've gone out for work. How's your day been? Prepare to see the other person's perspective. Value change. People will change. The sweetheart you saw at 17 is not going to be the same at 27 with a kid. It's not going to be the same as 37. You grow, you change, you modify, you adapt, you live. But it's about growing together, not growing apart. So do things together. Work on yourself and work on things you do together. Respecting privacy and dignity is also quite key. If you're not going to respect each other, there is no communication. There's no valuing. Becoming angry or defensive, in your opinion, has only become challenging. If you're going to communicate, you're going to talk, you've got to realize that becoming angry or saying, oh, you're only doing this because you don't love me, or you don't do this, it's not going to work. You've got to become this, and this comes into you checking to yourself, actually, what role am I playing here? What am I doing to myself? Am I self-sabotaging this relationship because A, I'm expecting something else, B, I'm not communicating it, and C, I'm then having an effect of the not communication and the expectation. If I'm expecting to become a doctor or going to do a PhD, I can't just sit on YouTube and just expect to know everything. Yeah, you probably know, but until I don't get my GCSEs, don't get my A-levels, don't go to college, don't go to university, then study, I'm not going to get my PhD by sitting at home. Same way in a relationship. If you're looking for a happy relationship, it doesn't mean you get married, have kids, have a house, and 2 cars. You've got to work on that relationship. You've got to communicate. You've got to respect. And above all, you've got to value. Body language is a big thing. I'll give you another stat. 70% of your body language is here. It's in your face. How you say, what you say. It's interesting if you say something like, I can see Dana smiling in this corner of my eye. You smile when you talk, it comes across very effectively. You say the same thing but frown, or your tone of voice or your pitch of voice is different, the message is totally changed. It's like, hi, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing? Oi, what are you doing? It's the same thing, same 3 different ways, but it changes the whole context. It's not what you say, but how you say it. And in relationships, people do get quite passionate about who and what they are. And there's, as the saying I normally say with people is, sometimes arguments are won by the person shouting the loudest, but the problem doesn't get solved, it gets worse. Men tend to do this as well in arguments, is shout, because they want to get a point heard, they want to get their, they want the other person to listen. But you don't have to listen. If you don't have to shout to get them to listen. Everyone's different. Everyone's unique. Sometimes it's easier to discuss one issue at a time. Discussing everything in one time, especially if someone's got limited time, it's not going to work. It's not about spending money on people. Sometimes it's about the quality time that you give. What we say, once it's been said, it can't be taken back. Once we use degrading language, once we're swearing, put down, name calling, whatever you do, once it's been said, saying sorry after does not justify it. A lot of times in relationships, when we communicate, once it's been said, it's registered. You've got to work with it. So it's about taking turns, allowing the other person to speak, but genuinely listen to the other person. Communicating is not what you do, it's how you perceive things as well. And this goes to children, family, friends, relatives, neighbours, anyone you talk to. Being aware of who and what you are when you say it as well. Sometimes it's best not to say something than to say something for the sake of saying something. A lot of times when I talk to people, I tell them to express themselves. So if you're in an argument, start with the words, I feel. I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling scared. Honey, when I feel hurt when you ignore my phone calls, text messages. I feel scared when you yell at me, it's not right. And then that allows them to then talk, actually, I've had a very busy day at work and I couldn't get my phone, my boss was on me. It allows the conversation to flow. If you go in and go, what the fuck are you doing? Are you cheating with me? Have you got another woman? What's going on with you? It's not going to work because already you're in a negative mindset. And communication in a negative mindset can be quite different. And you get one chance at it and one chance to make or break it. And if you're not prepared to work at a relationship, you shouldn't be in that relationship. Sometimes you've got to learn to compromise. You've got to understand the words, your actions, and importantly, reactions will help you. There isn't always a perfect answer to an argument or a conversation. Life is it's clumsy. Life is full of changes, messy, and from there. You do your best, you compromise, you work, you adapt, you change, you evolve, and you resolve. If you can't compromise, merely understanding the other person and reflecting back can be a big thing for them. Life is about what you make of it, and the communications are the pathways for it. You choose the wrong path or wrong method of communication, your life will be affected. Every rose has a thorn. You have to go through the thorn to get the rose. You are in control of your happiness. Don't be the reason to cause construction and destruction. And like I said to you, it's not what you say, but how you say it. And with that, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Harpo.
Wow.
So I really enjoy hearing you speak in every time that we've had an event together, and I always take a lot of notes, and there's so much there that I can take away from that. And I really do think paying attention to your facial expressions and your body language when you're speaking, as well as your modulating the tone of your voice, is really essential. And it's also reinforcing that point of take time to be gentle in your communication, as Josine was saying, but also having the extra reinforcement behind it, which is if you don't be gentle, people are still going to remember it. You can't take back your words even if you apologize. So it really does reinforce the idea of the most important thing in communication is hearing what's not being said. So Dana, did you have any thoughts regarding that?
Oh my God, so much thoughts. Nonverbal communication, I can't stress how important it is. As it is said, 70% of communication is nonverbal. We don't realize it, or sometimes we don't recognize it. So I love when Harpo said, instead of saying, you are doing this to me, or this is what you are doing, you make the conversation about you. Honey, this is how I feel. And I love that that point that you've made, Harpo, about intrapersonal communication. How do you communicate with yourself, or how do you process information? How do you understand yourself and understand while communicating with others? That is also important. And RESPECT. RESPCT. Come on, guys. That is so important in relationship, in every relationship. Nick and I, this is one thing that I have to say I really appreciate about my husband when it comes to talking and just communicating with respect. That is so essential, and I must say that's something I appreciate about you, Nick. Thank you so much for being such a humble person. I think sometimes our ego can get in the way, or we wanting to do things our way only. And sometimes it is just because who we are very strong-willed, or you just want to have your own way, but it really comes down to that idea of compromise. And sometimes it calls for lessening the ego, or putting the ego to a halt, and really taking time to understand from the other person's perspective what is happening, or what is taking place, you know. And one other thing I want to also reinforce, Nick, when you're communicating, don't just communicate the bad things that you feel about your partner. Be sure to also communicate the good things that you feel about your partner. Honey, I love the way that you communicate with me. I love the fact that you buy me flowers. I love how you cook, how you pay attention to this for me. I love the way that you listen. I love the way that you make love to me. It is really important that we complement each other, that you complement your spouse and you speak positive things into their lives. Even on days when they're having a really stressed out days, their stressed out moments, you take that time to say, don't worry, honey, it is going to be better. So be sure to communicate even during those times when it is difficult. say something, speak life into your relationship. I am a firm believer about speaking life into your marriage, speaking something that's positive, and also that understanding that a relationship is like a house that you live in. So this is one thing that I share in the Relationship Talk group that we have on Facebook. So guys, if it's the first time you're joining us or you don't know about the Relationship Talk group, there is a group on Facebook, and every single day there are messages that go out, little quotes for you to think about for your relationship. So I trust that you can join us there as well. So there is this quote that says, a relationship is like a house you live in. It always needs work and care to be pleasant to reside in. So guys, there is no easy way around relationships. It's about hard work. It's about taking time to enjoy the hard work as well. So even though you're going through the storms, even though you're going through a hard time, even during COVID-19, where you're stuck in a house together, it's learning to maneuver and build the communication that can help each other and can help your relationship. So instead of having a house that is going to fall, you're going to have a house that will be pleasant to live in. So that's what I want to leave with you guys. Nick, any thoughts before we bring on our third speaker?
So I just wanted to also take the opportunity to thank you as well for you made mention of always making a note to appreciate the things that your partner does for you, and you always ensure to do that with me, and I always do my best for you as well, and that's something that really brightens the day, even if it's quite difficult. I think one other thought that I would have just briefly is to remember the humanity of the person that you might be arguing with. Sometimes you can be very angry, but it's more a reflection of your own anger than it is anything to do with them. So in every argument, you have to remember that there's not a winner and a loser, someone who's right and wrong. You're someone who is a partner or one half of another person who are working together for each other. Anything other than that, and that generally tends to lead to more friction than is necessary or is useful. So with that, we're going to pass on to our third speaker, who is Seema Danak. So Seema had a arranged marriage and got married 1 week after her 21st birthday. And for the past 15 years, she's been working with victims of domestic abuse, both professionally and within her own Asian community. And she has a keen interest in helping individuals have a better relationship with themselves and their loved ones. So I understand Seema is going to be discussing some of the tips for longevity in a relationship, drawing on her 21 years of marriage in her own relationship, discussing how relationships really do evolve over time, and what's next. Is 21 years the end of it? Is that where everything gets very boring, or is it going to keep going and still get stronger and stronger? So Seema, I'll just pass over to you.
Hi, thank you both, Nick and Dana. And first of all, thank you for inviting me to speak today. Firstly, I want to say, wow, we've had Herbal and Josine, who have really touched on some really, really important factors. And what I love about what both of them have said is that so much of it resonates with even my own experiences as well. I think what's going to set what I say apart from what's been said so far, because everything that has been said so far has been so amazing, is what that actually looks like in real terms. So I wanted to talk about my own history and sort of, like my own relationship to start with. Like you said in your introduction, I was engaged by the time I was 20. 9 months later, I got married a week after my 21st birthday to my partner, and our sort of courtship and dating was limited to maybe a couple of times in a month, if that. And I lived in Peterborough, he lived in London, and so we didn't have a traditional, I dated him for a couple of years or knew him in advance or anything like that. So it was really deep, jumping into the deep end for me, big time, and at a very young, tender age as well. What I will say is that I was very fortunate. I sort of landed with a partner who believed in nurturing me and believed in bringing out the best in each other. This was an attitude that was present throughout his family. It wasn't just him, his parents and his brothers were equally as nurturing. I felt very much taken in and under their wing when I joined the family after marriage. And one thing that I learned over sort of 21 years of marriage is understand where your partner comes from. So where my partner has come from Kenya, he's of Indian origin, but you know, spent the majority of his young life in Kenya. He's lived a very different lifestyle to what I was brought up in the Western world here in the UK. He understood that I've come from you know, a very protective family, a very conservative family, and that I'm still very young. And he knew that with the age difference between us, he's 6 years older than me. He had a bit more experience in life than I did. And on that basis, he was able to kind of nurture things like, you know, understanding the responsibilities, understanding the importance of having a career, understanding ambition. And throughout our marriage, if there's one thing that he's continued to do, it's support my ambitions and support my dreams. And in turn, I've done the same for him as well. So understanding you know, each other and where you've come from and where you want to go is a huge part of a successful relationship. Sometimes he will take me under his wing and he will sort of nurture me to get me to understand you know, the importance of certain decisions that I'm making, whether it's changing jobs or whether it's moving house or making a purchase, whatever it is. We will talk through these things thoroughly and understand where we're going with these things. Other times I'll take him under my wing where we're perhaps talking about our views or our opinions on something. And you know, it's a two-way thing. There is no sort of one-sided, you know, he takes care of me more than I take care of him, or vice versa. We both have our strengths and we both have our challenges. And the important thing there is to remember that where you've got those strengths and those challenges, he can pick me up when I need a bit of support with something that I'm challenged with, and he can help me to fly when I'm strong at something. And we have to do that for each other. It isn't enough for one person to do it to do it one-sided, which is draws me back to what Harbal was saying, that, you know, nothing in a relationship is 50-50. You both have to put in 100%. So, you know, in that case, I think it's really, really important to really nurture each other, you know, look after each other and understand each other's ambitions, each other's dreams. Align yourselves with each other, align your goals with each other. So if your goal is to buy a new house or have a certain car or travel, then align your goals with each other and work with each other to actually achieve those goals. I'm going to give you an example of purchasing some jewellery. And, you know, many of my friends have spoken about, you know, purchasing jewellery, and I'm talking about precious jewellery, where, you know, they're very quick to say, oh, yes, my partner bought me a pair of diamond rings or diamond earrings or necklace or whatever it is. And the discussion I've seen having amongst women is as well that, well, your partner should provide that for you. And recently we did something where we actually both purchased something together. And it was a fruit from our hard work, something that we built together. It was a business that we ran together. And, you know, we decided that, fine, you know what, this is something that, it's my hard work, it's his hard work. This is something we want to invest in together because it's for us. And so when I look at that piece of jewelry, it's a reminder of the hard work that both of us have put in. It isn't just about me buying something for myself or buying something for him. It isn't just about him having the responsibility alone on his shoulders to provide for me. It's about providing for each other. And that might not necessarily be financial transactions. It can be things around the house. It can be a case of, you know, you take care of this side of the housework and I'll take care of that side of the housework, and making sure that you're aligning each other with, like, you know, with achieving the same goals ultimately. At the end of that sense of satisfaction that you get from aligning your goals and then meeting them is phenomenal, because you realize how beautiful a feeling it is when you finally buy that car that you wanted, go on that holiday that you really wanted to go on, do that experience that you wanted to go on. We recently we celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary by doing a dining experience in the sky. And initially, my ambition was to do that in London. Couldn't book it, but then we went to Malta as a family holiday. Lo and behold, not only was I able to do that experience in Malta in the evening over the sunset across the Maltese skyline, but I was able to do it on my actual anniversary. So this is where both of us have, you know, we put it out to the universe that, you know, we wanted to do something so special to mark our 20th wedding anniversary, and the universe made it happen. But it isn't just enough to have faith in the universe at all. You have to have faith in each other. You have to have the faith that, you know, you will together make things happen. So that, to me, is what healthy relationships should look like. So I've put it, I hope I've kind of given you a story that really puts it into real context for you. I want to now talk about what happens with relationships over time and how relationships actually evolve. So we've now been married in August, it will be 21 years. So in that 21 years, we've had, I had my son quite young. I had him at the age of 23, he's now 19. So I've been a partner, I've been a mum, I'm a daughter-in-law, I'm a sister-in-law, I'm a friend, I'm a cool aunt. And you wear so many hats in a relationship, and it's not just me, my husband has to as well. He has a responsibility to have a relationship with my side of the family too, and my friends too. And so the relationships do evolve. You're not going to be, as Herbal said, you're not going to be, your partner's not going to be the same at the age of 16 as they are at the 27. I'm not the same now as I was when I was 21, when I first got married. Those relationships do evolve, and you grow together, you grow and you mature together. And this is where I think you have to both take the credit for growing together in a loving and nurturing way. So what that means is, you know, what are the roles that I've taken? So like I said, I've been a mum. You know, motherhood is beautiful. The first few years of having a child together is a massive change for every couple, and embracing parenthood together can be a challenge for many couples. If you are a couple that's intending to have children, please, if there's one thing that you really need to align yourselves with, it's giving you and your family the best upbringing and the best environment to bring your child up in. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a background that's abundant with wealth. It needs to be a background that is abundant with stability, with love, and with the correct amount of character building around that home. And by that, I'm talking about building your own character as a mum, being a role model and your child's hero, being a role model as a father, okay, and also being a role model to those around you in terms of your peers. So first you start off in like a relationship with, as the honeymoon phase, and you're dating and the rest of it. In my case, it kind of all merged into one, and then I had my son. As my son grew up, the next role for me was playing the friend. Teenage, sort of adolescent children of this age are exposed to so much information. There is massive information overload, and when you have a healthy relationship with yourself and you have a healthy relationship with your partner, your children are going to pick up those healthy habits, those healthy relationship habits that they see around them, because you become their role models. And I can't emphasize this enough, that the way that you behave around your partner is how your child is likely to behave around their partner. And there is evidence of this when I've worked with people who are suffering with domestic abuse, and we talk about the long-term impact that domestic abuse has on children as a result of being exposed to it. The same way, when you are exposed to love and you're exposed to affection, you're exposed to balance and stability, you're exposed to ambition, and you're exposed to two parents working hard on their relationship and their lives together, then that is what your child is going to learn and pick up. Those learned behaviors are what they are going to absorb. So you know, and as a couple as well, if you are in agreement and in alignment with each other that this is the path that you want to take in terms of the way you lead your life, then even that bringing up the child experience becomes a beautiful one, because it's something that you've done together. And when you see that human being that you've created turn into an amazing person, achieving amazing things, becoming a headstrong, mature individual with good values and becoming a good member of the community, you can sit back and actually say, we did that together. Because I can tell you for a fact that my son is not a product of just me. My husband has had an equal hand in his character building and the role models that we've set for him. So again, can't emphasize it enough. Be healthy in your relationships around the people that you are around. Show respect to each other, not just when you're on your own, but also when you're around others as well. Because what you project outwardly is what people are going to see you as, and that is what they are going to pick up on in terms of your behaviors. Now, lastly, it's a case of, right, what's next? So we've got 21 years in the bag already. Where do we go from here? We still have plans. We still want to travel the world. We still have career goals. We still have ambitions for our son, and we still align each other with each other as well. And that does mean sort of, you know, whether it's planning what we're going to make for dinner within the week, or whether it's planning what we're going to do with our home in terms of recently now, obviously because of this pandemic, we're all working from home, and we're talking about future-proofing the house and working from home together. I'll tell you something really funny about working from home with my husband. It does mean that we get in more cuddles, we get in sort of more moments where, like, I can squish him and my son. So I said to him, you are not going to get this when you go back to work. Your colleagues are not going to come and hug you the way I do, so enjoy it while you can. And, you know, he thinks, he sometimes laughs at it, sometimes he's just like, oh, I'm concentrating, leave me alone. But it's been great. And I think, you know, where other couples have really felt the pressure of being in lockdown with each other and working from home in each other's pockets practically, you know, it's for us, it's actually not been too bad. And I think that's testament to us being able to enjoy each other's company around each other all the time. So again, you know, where do we go from here? Like I said, we still have goals. It's still important that you plan things together, that you plan holidays together, you plan fun things together. It's important that you still talk about ambitions and you don't become complacent. Even for your own mental health, it's important that you continue to develop yourself and each other as well. And again, one of the last things that I will say is that no relationship is complete without both sides of the family. Okay, now we have done a lot of talk so far with both of our speakers before me, and I'm sure that the speakers after me will concentrate on the couple relationships singularly. But I want to touch on the importance of the extended family relationships as well, because when you respect each other's family too, it makes life so much easier. There is nothing worse than when one of your partner doesn't get on with the rest of the family. So I can't emphasize it enough. You don't have to like everyone. You don't have to be fake in front of everyone, but be kind and be pleasant around your partner's families, around their friends, because that will seriously do your relationships a lot of good. So please don't ignore, you know, the wider community around you, your peers, your parents, your relatives, your siblings, and, you know, be kind to both sides of the family, because that it's I want to call it brownie points, but let's not call it that because it's a bit childlike. But you know, it does help. It does help when you respect and are kind to each of your respective families as well. So make the time to get to know his sister, his mum, spend time with them, and always look for the positives. One final note that I will say is always look for the positives in each other. As a final exercise, what I want to say to you is when you go into a restaurant or a new place, whether it's a hotel or wherever, you look around yourself and you notice every single wood item, whether it's ornate, is it painted, is it veneer, is it real, is it solid wood, is it antique, and what is it? Is it a piano, is it a shelf, or is it a chair? And then within a split second, I want you to remember what colour the curtains are. You're not going to do it because for the last however many minutes, you've indulged yourself in thinking about the wood aspect of that room only, and you've not been concentrating on the colour of the curtains. A relationship is very much similar in the sense that if you are always going to focus on the negatives, that is all you will see. So it's so important to focus on the positives and have a balance of that. Yes, no one is perfect, but everybody has positive aspects in their personality, and those are the ones that we should be nurturing. Those are the ones that we should be noticing the most and appreciating the most. And if there are some niggly bits in your relationship that you're not happy with, talk it through. Notice it, but it doesn't have to be a deal breaker. It doesn't have to be a relationship breaker if you can just learn to accept them. And of course, that is in line with it not being abusive behaviors. Anything that is a non-abusive issue, you should be looking at from a positive point of view, and you should be looking at it from a constructive point of view. So that's all from me. 21 years of kind of marriage advice there.
Congratulations, really, congratulations. 21 years. I mean, just hearing your story, and you've shared a lot of nuggets there with us. And one of the things that I will take home is look for the positives in each other. I mean, guys, yes, we have issues in relationship, but if you look at the person next to you, if your spouse is next to you, you realize that's the guy, that's the woman that you fell in love with. That's the woman, that's the man who you're committed to spend your life with. So it's that understanding of really communicating positively. I love the fact that you said, Seema, to align your goals and work with each other. Now, there is a saying that it's you and your partner against the world. And we're not meaning that you don't have the support, because that support, as a speaker mentioned, is really essential. But it's that understanding that you are working together to build something that is beautiful, to help build your family, to help fulfill your ambitions. If you look at very successful people all over the world, you know, and you look at their spouses, behind every successful spouse, there is his or her spouse at the background who is really working hand in hand with him or her. So it's that understanding that we're working together for each other to help build something that is beautiful. And that's one thing that I really believe in. That is one of our mantras as well. We are there to support. If you speak to my husband, you speak to me. If you speak to me, you speak to my husband. We have a very open and honest communication. I think that is really important. When you can be honest with each other, sometimes the truth may not be everything that you like to hear, but it's always good to be in that place where you're willing to work with your spouse. You are willing to understand. You are willing to really take that time, as one of our speakers mentioned, that time, quality time to invest into understanding and to building each other up and really making them know, I love you, I appreciate you, I support you, and we're in this together for each other. Yeah? Nick, what are some of your thoughts today?
So I can definitely identify and understand the importance of rewarding yourself and each other within the relationship, if that's through items like jewelry or through experiences. And not only that, it sort of feeds together into having common goals and interests and targets for your life. So we as well have done the dinner in the sky. Actually, we did it in London, and it was part of, generally speaking, we're always looking to do something extra, some extra experience, if that's going to be a trip, or if that's going to be some little item or token or something like that. I think that's really important as well, and that just keeps you moving forward and occupied, and that it helps you enjoy the day-to-day and always have something to look forward to. And not only that, there's this other little nugget, which is never stop dating your wife and don't ever stop flirting with your husband. It's a case of it's a constant journey of now moments, and now is always here, and it's just a case of keep going, keep doing the things that you want to do, and then over time that'll lead to some really important and excellent memories that you'll have with each other, and a really strong relationship. So thank you very much, Seema. We'll be heading on to our next speaker, which I think my wife is going to introduce for us.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciated that segment, Seema. And one of the points that Seema mentioned would have been in lockdown. And Nick and I found ourselves in the situation where we're really holiday sick, because we love to travel. We've traveled to a few places, well, probably over 30 countries. We've done a number of things together. And I really want to just highlight the fact that you have to take that time to really invest in the relationship, even during this time of being in the lockdown. My husband and I, we've literally started camping in our garden whenever we feel holiday sick. So last night, we actually camped in our garden, in the backyard, and we set up fairy lights with all of the plants in the backyard, just being away from everything, being away from the house, just taking time to appreciate each other, spending time together, just to talk, just to smile at each other, just to think about our thoughts, think about the things that we would like to do together. And it's really beautiful. Even when you think that the lockdown is the worst thing that can happen, it's that understanding we can really make the best of every situation that is going on, and the best can come out of any type of challenging situation. So guys, we are going to buckle up for our fourth speaker, and we're going right along to Adrija. And I believe that my husband, would you like to introduce our fifth speaker?
Sure. So our next speaker is Adrija Biswas. She is a corporate leader, visionary, motivational speaker, singer, philanthropist, and beauty queen. She is a survivor of the 9/11 terror attacks on New York and also a survivor of domestic abuse. She has overcome her challenges and decides to face life with a positive outlook. And she holds 3 degrees in the fields of engineering, electronics and telecommunications, as well as an MBA, and is a multi-award-winning ambassador advocating for peace and an end to domestic violence. So Adrija is just going to go through what are the core values of a successful relationship, how have you applied these values yourself, and what are some of the challenges you've seen in your relationship? So, Adrija.
Thank you, Nick and Dana. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Really excited to be here. And you talked about me being positive, and I'll talk about how that positive thinking has helped me a lot in communicating in my relationship. Because I think a relationship is a very emotional aspect, and communication is such a key element of it. And it's not just how you verbally communicate, but the non-verbal communication as well is really important. And I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, men are from Mars, and women are from Venus. They're on completely different tangents, and I think communication is what bridges them and brings them together. So one of the key strategies that I have learned is around listening and being able to actively listen and be there. So like when I'm talking to my husband, and if he's on the phone and I'm like, please, can you just listen to me? And I've kind of seen that that's such an important part to play, because when I'm actively listening, I can understand the other person's perspective, and I'm putting myself in his shoes, and I'm understanding his situation much better. And that means I am not making any assumptions. I am not prejudging the situation. So listening also shows that you care, and you give the time to your partner, and say that, yes, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to interrupt, because I care about what you want to share. And we talked about COVID-19. We're all going through such challenging times. If we're not able to communicate, and if I don't feel that I'm being heard by my partner, then I'm not going to feel very happy about it. So I want to make sure that I give that same, I reciprocate the same back, and I listen intensively. And that's about being able to be open and honest. So when I say that we listen actively, it's creating an environment for my partner to be able to feel like he's himself. And that's so important. Then when I'm listening, he doesn't have to be anybody else. He doesn't have to pretend that he's someone else. He can be open, he can be honest, and he can be transparent, because I am giving him that environment. So I think listening has been a really important key in our relationship. But what makes that happen is also respect and love. Like, why would I want to listen to him if I don't respect him and if I don't love him? And what I mean by respect and love is he may have different opinions. So for example, when we were getting our build work done, right? There are so many, and I don't know if anybody has got building work done, my friend said at the end of the building work, you'll probably end up getting divorced. Well, that's not happened. That's because we've communicated throughout the entire 9 months. I think even having childbirth and labor was probably easier, which was all of those hormones. But building work was definitely trying our communication skills. And the key one was we were not hitting each other under the belt. Right? So you don't hit below the belt. You agree to disagree. We may have different point of views. He may like a different color in the garden house, or a different color of the tile. But what matters is we sit together, we talk to each other respectfully, and we understand why they want to choose what they choose, or what's their point of view. And that's probably the same as politics. So I was born and raised in India. I studied in America, and met my husband. He's British. So we have different point of views. We have different political views. But the whole point is that we respect each other's culture. We respect each other's point of views. And we choose our words carefully as well. And I know Seema said that as well, and I'm a big believer, is about active constructive model. So every conversation has to be constructive, and you need to be an active participant. So it's not about just, oh yeah, just a very passive listener. It doesn't work that way. So create a very constructive environment. The next thing I'd say is about verbal and non-verbal. And Dana, you brought that point up as well, that body language is such a key element. I've got my tell signs. And my husband's got his tail sign. So even if we don't speak to each other, he can tell what my mood is, or he can see whether I'm upset, or if something's bothering me, just by knowing my body language and my tail signs. And I can tell the same about him. So observation. Listening is a very important part about communication, but observation is equally important, because it's not just about the verbal communication. The more important thing is about the non-verbal, the subtle things that we miss out sometimes in life. And that's played a really important part, because if I'm upset, there are certain things I'll do, and my husband just knows it. And he's always there with a listening ear, and he'll like sit me down, like, all right, so tell me what's wrong. And he doesn't have a cell phone on him, and I know that he's focused, like 100%, wanting to be there for me, and he wants to know what's going on. And probably the same the other way around as well. And what happens there is the positive energy and the positive vibes, like, Nick, you said, right? I'm a very, very positive person. I look at the positive of things. I look at the positive of people. And that's because I think we're all amazing people, right? Every couple, when we fell in love, and I go back to, from my courting times to being a fiance, to being married, all the way now to having kids, we have changed so much. And I kind of, when I look at him and I tell him, oh, you know what, when we were courting, you used to stay up till 2 a.m, and, you would do this and you would do that. And then I think, well, we've changed, right? And we're no longer 20, and we're parents now. We've got 2 really demanding children, so we can't really stay up till 2. But what is it that I fell in love with him? And look at the positive things that, he has brought into the relationship all along. And I'm really blessed because my husband's just absolutely amazing. He makes me feel myself. I can absolutely be myself around him. He makes me happy. He brings out the best in me. And when he can do all of that to me, I should probably be thinking positive as well. So fine, if he wants to go to bed a bit early and he's not up late on a Friday night or a Saturday night, I look at all the other amazing things he does and makes our home a home and makes our home beautiful. So as a lot of my other colleagues said, that we change with times. I'm no longer the same person that I used to be when I was 20. My kids drive me crazy, but I love them to bits. And the whole point is we're growing together as a couple, we grow together as a family, and it's about accepting. So the next point I wanted to make was changing behaviors, but it's all about accepting our spouse, accepting our partner for who they are, for all the amazing things that they bring into the relationship. And, sometimes we focus on the 10% that, Dana, you said nagging, right? I'm sure my husband says the same, right? Oh, women nag, but I kind of bring it as gentle reminders. So I've changed the way I speak. It doesn't come across as nagging anymore. It's more like, oh, hon, when you have a free moment, could you do that? And it's more like a reminder. And he'll probably notice and he'll say, yeah, you reminded me 4 times. It's probably being nagging now, but he doesn't say that anymore. So it's all about changing the way you speak, which then brings me to thinking before you speak. And I know one of us made the point about it is so important, because once the words come out, you cannot take it back. So be very mindful of what you're speaking, but also take care of the tone of your voice. I love this saying from Rumi. He said, or the saying was, raise your words, not your voice. And again, I'll repeat that. Raise your words, but not your voice, because it is rain that grows and nourishes the flowers, but not the thunder. Amazing. And I love this saying because it's so true. If you say something in a very agitated manner, it just goes on to a snowball effect. It then leads to your mood's bad, you then impact the other person, and the vibes are so negative, and you almost kind of vibrating at a much lower frequency. But if you say the same thing in a much nicer tone, in a calm and a composed manner, even if you're trying to bring out the worst of the points and you're disagreeing, it helps. So again, please be very mindful of the tone. But when you respect and love someone, the tone should automatically, come to be a very nice and a calm tone. So I think these were really important for me, because when we disagreed on politics or different things in life, there are times I have got angry. No one's perfect, but we balance each other out. And that's the amazing quality my husband has, is balancing me out. He is very calm, very composed. And Dana, you said you're opposites as well. And I am complete opposite of my husband. He's very calm and he's very composed, and I'm very, very energetic or very impulsive. I'll act impromptu. I'll act on impulse, but he calms me down. And when I'm upset, or he gives me the space as well. Well, initially, the Indians over here will probably know that Indian girls are very, we see Bollywood movies and we like being cajoled, or, if I'm upset, I'd want him to not give me the space. I'd want him to come to me and tell me 100 times, oh, what's wrong with you? But he's British, and he was all about giving space to me. And when we communicated, and I was like, no, I don't want you to give me the space. I want you to make me feel like you're there. When you actually give me space, I feel that you don't care. And these are some of the subtle things that we've gone through, in our relationship, where we understand each other much better. We understand when to give space, who to give space. And most importantly, we never, ever go to bed on an argument. Never. And I know, Josine, you said the same thing, is we just want to make sure, if you have differences in your opinions, agree to disagree, but make sure when you go to bed, it's all, it's all settled, because life is too short. You never know what's going to happen when you wake up tomorrow morning. So make the most of your relationship. Make the most, love your spouse, love your family, because that's what makes you thrive. That's what makes you happy. And last but not the least is enjoy and cherish the moments. Because if you do all of these things, if you listen, if you respect, if you love, if you observe what the other person is going through, then life is just beautiful anyways, because there is no expectation. There are no demanding situations, right? You're managing expectations, because everything is a blessing. Your husband's a blessing. Everything that he does for you, be grateful. And for me, it's such a, and you talk about it as well, about miracle mindset and a positive mindset, is if we take each day as a blessing, and if we appreciate all of those little things, even the positive things, then you won't have room to focus on the negatives, and you won't have room to make you feel upset, and you won't have expectations that are, sometimes beyond practical, because you know what your partner is, you know what they are capable of, you know what their strengths are. Balance the strengths out. Ignore the weaknesses, because we all have weaknesses. We all have, sides of us that we probably need to work upon, we need to make better, but that's part of our life. That's part of growing. So again, I'd say one thing I've learned from my husband is to stay calm, to balance each other out, and most importantly, make the most of every situation. He's the most forgiving person I've ever come across. He probably has no jealous bone at all. And there is so much I'm learning from him. So it's a constant learning process for me. And one takeaway that I'd like, you all to do is the same thing, is learn from each other. And Harpal said the same thing. It's not a 50-50. It's a 100% relationship. You give your most into it. You give your best, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's worth it. And that relationship is worth saving. It's worth making the efforts, and it's worth nourishing with the rains, and keep away the thunder.
you so much. Wow. Oh my God. That is so beautiful and well said, Adrija. I really love the fact that you've highlighted the active constructive model. Whenever we're communicating, it's really important to take time to listen, take time to say something that is constructive. And that nugget about paying attention to think before you speak. I mean, since I was a young girl, our parents told us, think before you speak. And this is something that we've learned ever while we're growing up. And when a word is said, it kind of go back. You kind of take it back. It is exactly like toothpaste. When you squeeze it out the tube, you kind of fit it back in. So it's that being mindful about how we communicate as we communicate. And guys, we are not perfect. No one is perfect. We are human beings. We don't have it together. Yes, we may have feelings, but the good thing about being human beings, we have choice, and we can choose to build ourselves. We can choose to develop ourselves, and even in that way, develop our relationship. So Nick, do you have any thoughts today on our speaker's message?
So thank you very much, Adrija, for sharing your experiences with us. And I've certainly, with all of our speakers, really taken a lot away from it. And the thing that fits well so nicely with me is to be mindful of what you speak about, and to, just like Dana was saying, it's once you've said something, you can't take it back. And also, there was also a tip that I'm certainly going to use for the future, which is where you have something like building projects or something very stressful on your finances or on any other aspect of your life, it's important to be together with each other and communicate as often as possible so that you're working together at something, not that you're working yourself with something and then someone is pulling you in the other direction. So I think it's definitely a case of being your partner's greatest encourager and not being his biggest critic.
So true. And the thing is, a happy couple may never have the same character, but they have the best understanding of their differences. So it's taking that time. And this is something that a lot of our speakers echoed. Thank you so much, Adrija. And we're moving right along to our fifth speaker, and she is Buki Addison Loy, and she is definitely no stranger to set. She is a marriage counselor. She's a graphic designer, fashion designer. She's also a counselor in training. She has been married for 20 years, and she has been married. She has been writing a book, guys, to assist other married couples. I would like to take this time to encourage all of our speakers to place all of your books, any items that you would like, where other persons would be able to have that understanding of what you're doing. You can put it in the comments at this time. And I would like to take this time now to just invite Buki, who's going to discuss a bit more about communication. And I know that running time is going so quickly. She's going to talk about communication, good communication, negative communication. What are some things or some strategies in solving problems? So without further ado, let me welcome Buki.
Thank you so much, Dana. I hope I'm not on mute. Let me check. Let me see. Okay, I'm good. Thank you so much, Dana. Thank you, Nick. And I want to thank you all so much, all the panelists. Thank you all so much for all your words. I've been really touched. And I have a question for, what's her name again? What's her name? Let me see. Oh, she left already. Akjar. I think she left already. Well, anyway, never mind. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Actually, the topic we're talking about today, communication, is a very important topic. So Dana, I want to thank you and Nick for bringing up this topic, because communication, a lot of marriages has broken down because of lack of communication. So it's a good thing that we're talking about it. And so far, what I've heard so far, I really like, I've learned a lot so far. So communication in marriage, like I said, is very important in any relationship because it fosters trust and connection. And in order to have open and honest, in order to have an open, honest, and vulnerable relationship with our partner, we have to be able to communicate freely, in order for it, also in a healthy manner. So and also one thing we have to know is if there's good communication between parents, definitely most of the time, 80% of the time, there's gonna be good communication between the children, because we might think that, okay, I'm not talking to my wife, or maybe there's a conflict between husband and wife. We might think maybe the kids are not like paying attention. They are paying attention to every single thing, because our behavior is more like when you eating maybe a cookies like biscuit or something like that, and the cup is coming down. That is what our behavior, the way we communicate, and maybe the conflict in relationship. That is how it kind of like just fall down on the kids. So we have to make sure that in relationship there is good communication. The thing is it possible to over communication? To over communicate in relationship? 100%, it is possible, because the thing is when something happened and you want to talk to your spouse about it. Maybe last week something happened. You talk to your spouse about it, and maybe you did not get the response that you want. You understand? And the following week, you're bringing up the same issue again because you didn't get a response. You keep on repeating the same thing. It can that can like weigh the person out. You understand? They can get so frustrated, because the thing is, maybe your spouse they did something wrong, and the thing is when we do anything wrong, what we don't want to hear, what we don't want is for us to be hearing the same what we did wrong all the time. So for you now to not start bringing up the issue every time, it makes one feel it get one of the partner definitely will get offended. You understand? So we need to find a way to communicate better. And once you talk about something, even if you don't get an apology, you just have to try and just let it go. You understand? Because it's not all the time that we're gonna get an apology from our spouse. So we have to try as much as we can to let it go. You understand? So that is what can happen in over communication. So, and also lack of communication, how that lack of communication can ruin a relationship. And I'm also going to talk about how we can fix it. So the thing is, good communication is one of the most important elements of a healthy and long-lasting relationship. However, due to some or other reason, there are times when people cannot communicate properly. And this lack of communication sometimes end up destroying a relationship. So not giving enough time to the person to express their thoughts can really hurt a healthy relationship. So most of the time, because poor communication, unresolved issues, and also lack of proper communication can ruin the positive affirmation from the two individuals, and this can even hamper the growth of the bond that is between the couple. So, and the effect of lack of communication is escalated conflicts, a negative perspective of your spouse, because you're gonna be thinking negatively towards your spouse. So, and also there's gonna be loneliness. There's gonna be lack of intimacy, because when you're hungry, when you're not coming, because when you have something on your mind and you cannot communicate it to your spouse, you get hungry. You understand? And when you're hangry with someone, the least of your mind is for you to be thinking about intimacy. You understand? So that's gonna cause lack of intimacy. So, and so there are signs of bad communication in relationship. When you want to communicate to your spouse, you don't criticize them or belittle them. You understand? And you don't and also you don't give them passive aggressive behavior, and also you don't come up with assumption. You understand? You have to make sure that you hear their own side of the story and not just assume that this is what they're thinking, or this is what is on their mind. So, and to fix lack of communication in a relationship, first of all, you need to find the right time, because you have to, since we've all been talking right now about getting to know our spouse. So if you know your spouse, you're going to know the right time to talk to him or her. You understand? So you have to find the right time, because if something is bothering you and you would like to have a conversation about it, it can be helpful to find the right time to talk. So you need to find, try to find a time when both you and your partner are calm and not distracted. And also when you're not stressed and when you're not in a rush. So you might even consider scheduling a time to talk if one or both of you is really busy. You understand? So you have to make sure that you find time to talk. That's one of the ways that you can fix lack of communication. The second way is you have to make sure that you talk face to face. You understand? This is not about you picking up the phone call, the phone and just be like, okay, I want to talk about it. No, because one of the speaker mentioned, body language. You got to see the expression on their face. You got to see how, whatever they're doing. You understand? And you have to make sure that you have eye contact. You understand? You're looking at the person and your partner is looking at you. So face to face is just the best way to fix lack of communication problem. So avoid talking about serious matters or issues in writing. You can't be writing about things. You can't be talking about. Writing things and you can't be writing it. And also, you cannot send text messages or letters or email, because the thing is, when I'm speaking, you understand, the way you're going to perceive my word is going to be different from when I write you a text message. You understand? That's why when people send text messages or messages on WhatsApp, but when the way you're gonna read it and the way you're gonna perceive it is gonna be different from when you speak to the person, one-on-one or face-to-face. So, and also because they're gonna get it misinterpreted. So you need to talk to the person, talk in person, so that there's not gonna be any unnecessary miscommunication. So if you're having trouble in collecting your thoughts, you can also consider writing it down on time. You understand? You got to write it down ahead of time, and also you have to try and read it out to your partner. You understand? So write whatever your points, write it down in a paper, and make sure your partner is there. You understand? And also just read it out loud so that they can hear it. And the third one is do not attack. Because the thing, when someone offends us, the next thing on our mind is how to attack the person. So you cannot attack. You understand? So even when we mean well, we can sometimes come across as harsh. We can sometimes come across as harsh because of our choice of words. You understand? So using words that sound like attacking, which that when you use words that sounds like what is it called? That sounds like you're attacking the person. It can make the person to be defensive. You understand? So you have to use you have to say something like, I feel like we haven't. You have to use a word like we instead of using I. You understand? So you have to something like an example is maybe something like, I feel like we haven't been close lately. Instead of you saying, well, I feel like we've been distant. You understand? Just use the word close. You understand? So you have to make sure that you pick the right choice of words to use. And the fifth one is be honest. In everything you say, you got to be honest. So agree to be honest. Sometimes truth hurts. You understand? We have to accept it no matter what. Sometimes truth can hurt. You understand? So, it's the key to being honest is the key to healthy relationship. So admit that you are not perfect and apologize when you make mistakes instead of making excuses. You understand? When you know you're wrong, just make sure that you just apologize. You cannot just be making excuses. When you make excuses, you're just going to it's just like a fire that is already burning. You understand? And you try to ignite it more. You're trying to have maybe petrol or something like that. It's just gonna just blow up. You understand? So, and again, you have to make sure that you check your body language. Let your partner know you are really listening by giving them your full attention. Sit up, face them, and make sure that you do eye contact, which I already spoke about. Then don't take a phone call when you're with your partner, when you're discussing something, when you're communicating. When your phone, if it's possible, just turn it off. You understand? That is not the time for you to start playing games or video game on your phone. That's not the time for you to start receiving text messages from your friends or something like that. This is a time for you and your partner. This is a time for you to pay attention and listen and everything like that. And what is it called? There's another one, which is another point, which is about the use the 48-hour rule. If your partner does something that makes you angry, you need to tell them about it. But you don't have to do it so right away. And if it still hurts, you make sure you calm down. So, but in the next 48 hours, if it still hurt, if the hurt is still there, just Or if the hurt is still there, talk about it. But if not, if you don't want to talk about it, best thing is just forget about it. So, but always remember that your partner is not a mind reader, because most women, we always think, my husband should know what I want. My husband should be able to tell because we've known each other for a long time. But no, no one is a mind reader. Maybe some psyche, but not in a relationship. You can never find a mind reader. So you got to say what is on your mind. And the thing is, when something happened, maybe 10 years ago, try not to bring it up. Try not to bring it up, because like I said earlier, that can be one of the reasons for over communication as well. Because the thing is, something happened 10 years ago and you still have it on your mind. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear what I did 10 years ago. I've gone past that. You understand? I'm not living in that world anymore. So don't bring it up. When something happened 10 years ago, just let it go. Just let it go. So and yeah, that's just what that's what I have to say. And I say thank you so much to Dana and Nick.
Thank you very much, Bookie. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that, like with all these speakers, I really enjoyed. And one thing that really brought it home to me is it's very important, if there's something in terms of something critical within your relationship or any area of communication, it's best to do it face to face. And also not to over criticize or be too harsh. Always try and be gentle. And I think that's a recurring theme that's a lot of our speakers have said, and I certainly agree with, and it needs to be emphasized, is it's not to be too harsh. Don't overuse your criticism, because it begins to affect the other person and make them less receptive to communication and wanting to speak with you. And it leads me to a thought, which is relationships don't usually die a natural death. They are murdered either by ego or a lack of communication. So Dana, did you have any thoughts?
Oh, definitely. I really love the fact that you said, Bookie, take the right time when you're calm and when you're not distracted. I think that is a really PowerPoint right there for us. A lot of times in relationships, we are very reactive instead of being constructive. So take the time. I really love the fact that you said use the right time. Take the right time to discuss things with your spouse. And it is important to be honest indeed. If you do not like something, it is good to express yourself. But again, it's that understanding how we express ourselves, which is very important. Do not criticize, do not attack your partner. Don't make it a war between you and your spouse. Really take that time to try to work it out. And sometimes you may not always get it right. Sometimes this time you fail at it, but don't give up. The next time, work at it even harder. And that is one thing I just want to say. So there is a thought, Nick, that this reminds me of. Love is not how you forget, but is how you forgive. It is not only how you listen, it is how you understand. It is not what you see, but is what you feel. And it's not how you let go, but how you hold on. So guys, I'm gonna leave you all with that just before we invite our final speaker. And before we invite our final speaker, guys, I just wanna take this opportunity to invite any questions in the comments. We will ask someone to address the questions and you can pose it to anyone. So I'm going to give the comment section, just give the go ahead. If you have any questions, please feel free to do it now. So right after our final speaker, we'll be able to answer those questions for you. And our final speaker is, drum rolls, we have Reverend Dr. Precious Towie. And she is such a beautiful woman. Oh my God, I've met this beautiful soul, and she is just absolutely fantastic. She also, like our friend Buki, she has a talk show, and she is really popular online, doing a lot of work with advocacy for albinism, with advocacy for women who are going through domestic abuse. Guys, she's a founder and a CEO of Women Worship Global Gospel Music Awards, and a founder and CEO of Rising Star Daycare. Oh my God, she mentors youths. She's gone through quite a lot in her earlier days, and she's there to really help persons who are going through suffering with domestic violence, teenage pregnancies, homelessness. She's just absolutely fantastic. She believes that there are three important things in life for every human being, and these are principles, actions, and relationship. So today we're talking all about relationship and communication in relationship. I mean, like, I've just connected with this woman the very first day that we've met. I just connected with her so much, and she's going to tell us a bit about her personal life. So this is really exciting. And her first impression of her partner. She's going to talk about her love life, how the relationship starts and how it's been built up, and how she feels, how happy she is in terms of her love, her intimacy, and what kind of communication strategies both her and her partner employ. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to invite our final speaker, Dr. Precious Stowey.
So, hi, thank you so much, Dana Nick, for inviting me. I appreciate it very well. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I kept going back and forward. I had another meeting. I had personal. You know, I listened to everyone, and it's so amazing. And I thought to myself, these people have perfect relationships. I'm not sure this is where I want to really speak there, you know, but it's good sometimes to hear the positive side of relationship and how long they've been in these relationships. It's so amazing. And you wonder sometimes and say, had I met such people in my times, maybe I would have still been where I was supposed to be, but no. If it's domestic violence, don't be there. Impossible. But I thank you for inviting me once again. So my story was like the young lady, she was married at 21. I was married at the age of 27. But my, like hers, was a bit of arranged as well, but in the church. So my story is quite different. It's like arranged marriage in the church but I was vulnerable at that time. I was a broken young woman, didn't have any direction in my life, really. So I remember marriage is two incomplete people coming together. So you're both not perfect at all. So I hear a lot about people talking about expectation. We should not expect too much from anybody, no matter how long you've been in the relationship, because we all have these trigger points in our life that something will spark out. And when that thing spark out, it's not because your spouse is bad or you're bad. It's just something that they have relived in their past life or in their family issues that is just coming out. So you have a young man that is trying to make his life perfect, but then when he was growing up in his family home, there was domestic violence, either with his mother or father or with his uncle and his wife. So something like that might trigger him sometimes to just want to raise his hand, and you're like, no, we don't do things like that in this relationship. So I got married at the age of 27 to someone I never dated, didn't know, did not understand, and had no clue what his anger or his trigger points were, how he's going to kill me if I make him angry, or how he's going to react if I make him angry. And secondly, we're from two different countries. He's Nigerian, I'm Liberian. The culture was very, very different. They expect a lot. Like one of the ladies first said, you have to know the family. You have to understand the family. The families have to understand you, and they have to understand your family. But this family was not willing to understand my family. My family was not able to understand them because the education level as well was so high. And again, the communication level was very high in the way that it was possible to understand where each other was going. Church, you can't really date a guy and have sex with the guy. You have to be engaged. You have to be married ASAP. So there was no courtship or whatever we call it these days. I was in the choir and music director, everything. There was no way I could make any mistake, because then people would say, oh, she's in the church and she's sleeping with this guy and they're not married. So that was the beginning of a marriage that was going to be, it was doomed already. They put it that way. So upon getting married, we didn't understand each other. First week, I knew I was going to die. Second week, I knew there was a no-no. Third week, I knew I'm heading for Kano or something like that. But then you go back to the leadership of the church, because that's how we got married. His in-law was the bishop. His auntie was the bishop's wife. So you see, I was entangled in something that I could not get out of, because it's deeper than the eyes can see. And they're telling me, you can't get divorced because God hates divorce. But this guy is beating me already, and it's only 3 weeks of marriage, and at this point, I'm pregnant. So it was like, there was nothing I could do. There's no one I could turn to, because like someone earlier said, don't tell other people about your relationship. Keep it to yourself. Because when you tell people, you look like a bad wife, you look like the wife that is not doing the right thing in her home. And in the African community, I don't want to stereotype, it's like the woman has to work 100 times harder in the relationship. I want someone to correct me if I'm wrong, because you're not giving him enough sex. You're not cooking the right food. Maybe the house is not clean enough. So maybe that's why you're getting beat up, or things are being done to you. And you have to put on your mask, put on your makeup, and come to church like everything is okay. So for 9 years, it was like, I left that marriage. I didn't know it's like a woman in a relationship, how to even I believe being quiet, everything to you. But when I got into a new relationship, 5 years, which is now, it was not easy to communicate with him. But then I began to remember what my father said before he died. He used to say to me, go to bed, I'm angry. My Mary, I have to bear, shut up. And the Bible says, not let your anger, the sun go down on your anger. So I had these mixed messages coming from the top and my grown-up days, and I was really confused. And you can't go talk to anyone, because you will be selling your husband to people when you go and say things to them, because then you can get advice. And I couldn't go to my family, because I married an Igbo guy. And the thing is, if you married an Igbo guy, you marry the whole family. That means your family is not important in your relationship anymore. It's only him and his family and you. If I tell my mom what I was going through, because she lives in America, she might break my relationship by saying to me, I should leave my relationship, and God would not be happy with me. So I had all this wrong information coming at me, and I accepted it just the way it was given to me. Why? Because I wasn't healed properly from my upbringing. I was a child coming from a war. We had war, and I came into this country. I didn't have my mother. Then my father passed away. That raised me, that taught me everything that I knew. So that was my confidence, really. The only person that I could talk to if anybody tell me anything was gone, and he was no more. And I wasn't really confident with telling my mom everything anyway, because I feel she didn't understand me as a young girl. So she deemed me very angry young woman. Yes, I was, because I didn't understand and she didn't understand me. So I didn't have the right path, really, to be a married woman first and foremost. So in the church, I'm still finding my way. I'm still healing, and things were still not right with me. So then I have a husband that was not even correct himself, that I was married to. So with him, everything I say, you have to do, and I have to do everything he says by right. But then my father something, so when he raised his hand to you, you never go back for the second time, because once he does it different, it's going to be a repetitive thing, and it's never going to end. It's either you're going to die in it, or maybe just live with it and become numb in your life. When I went to complain, I said, oh, all marriage is like that. So I believe all marriages have domestic violence in it. All marriages have lack of communication issues. And all marriages have to go through a process where you have to be quiet and not tell anybody anything. Come to church, I would look at the married women's faces to see if their faces were like mine. Again, the body language kind of thing. Are they happy, or are they pretending like the way I'm pretending, or are they keeping things inside? But none of them looked like they were going through anything bad anyway. But remember, I was told they're going through it, but they're keeping quiet. So I assume I had to be just like every other woman in their environment. And wherever I went, I had to shut my mouth. And that's what I did for 9 years. So when I went through the process that I went through, homelessness, and I end up in the police custody, they took my children away because I wasn't speaking about what has happened to me. I had to sit up because I realized my children were the most important thing that I had to protect. If I didn't protect them, I would be an empty woman, worse than what I was going through in the marriage. Because if they were taken away from me, what's the point of giving birth to them when I want them to raise them? And I thought they complete me as a woman. Without them, I would be empty. So I needed to for them. So in fighting for them, I learned to speak out. I learned to tell the counsel that, okay, I'm ready to tell you what you need to know. I'm ready to go for counseling outside of the church, counseling for 6 months. I had to find myself again. Remember, I'm this woman coming from a law background, and I changed my career to work around my ex-husband to school, help me take them to nursery. So I was going to the law, I was going to court late, I was going to work late. So it's not something that I could stay in, because then these are legal profession and the professional profession you're into. You can't be going late and complaining. No, you have to take your problems off your face and go to work professionally, deal with the issue at work, and come home and deal with the issue at home. So it wasn't working for me. So I changed to become a teacher, because when they go on half term, I'm with my children. I didn't have to struggle back and forth. I didn't have to look for someone to look after them. And then they didn't have childcare like they have now. So it wasn't that easy. So I had to change everything about my life all over again to suit my children's life. The government to say, okay, she can look after her children. So I went to the end of the road, and I fell off the end of the road. And I had mental health issues that they had to deal with as well to be able to run my home. So in the process of that, as a gospel artist, I released a song while I was lying in St. George's Hospital. I was told I had kidney failure and I was going to not survive or whatever. But I'm a woman of prayer. I'm a Christian. So I begin to pray to God. I don't have brothers and sisters to run to. And so it was just me dealing with my issues, with my 16-year-old helping me with the other children. So in the midst of that, I had a song in my spirit that I went to record. And then the counselor asked me something. She said, what do you want to do when you're done with your counseling? I said, release my song and release my video. So upon looking for who would do the video is when I met my now partner. He's a journalist, a filmmaker, a producer, a photographer, for everything. But we didn't start off like that, because I had built a hedge around myself, and I wouldn't let no man anymore. I was ready to raise my children by myself. At this point, I'm about 31 years old. So I'm ready to raise them, and I'm not going to let nobody come into my life and will ruin my life. I would just be me, my children, and God. And I was not ready to go through any communication stuff with anyone. I just want to pay you, do my video, and go your way. But when we went to do my video, he kept staring at me, and I felt uncomfortable because I didn't like the way he was doing it. And he was a bit strict as well. And I'm used to a man being mean to me. So I was cool with him. But I pay him for a job, so it's okay as well. So after doing the job, one day he came to my house and he said, I came to take you and your children to school and take you to work. And I'm like, who asked you to do that? He said, for some reason, I can't sleep for the last, and this is 2 months later. And he went away to his journalism job to Geneva or something. But when he came back, he has not been able to sleep. All he thinks about is me and my children. And the last time he saw me, the way I was struggling with my children just to be able to do my video, he said he felt sorry in his heart. Someone's so beautiful, be this way, and yet able to do all the things that she's doing. And I said, if the evil people have sent you, you should go away. Don't want to talk to you. And I know how to take my children to school. I'm not struggling. I make good money, and I don't need your support. So I was on the defensive side, and I was ready to fight this guy to drive away from my house. And I'm like, you're stalking me. I'm going to call the police. You're doing that. But he was driving behind me. So I said, okay, just to school and drop me to work and don't come back again. So he did that. 2 days later, he came back. So we started talking, and I said, no, I don't want a relationship. I need a friend, because I don't have friends. I learned, my ex-partner made me like away from all my friends, that way where you don't have no one to talk to. So I didn't have my friends. So my friends thought because I'm married, I decided to leave them. They didn't want to understand what I was going through, and I couldn't tell them what I was going through, because with all of them too, I was on a higher level, Christian-wise and education-wise as well. So it's like everybody's coming to you for advice, but you can't tell them what you're going through. Again, I was in this bubble of myself, and I can't be fed, so you can't tell them you're being abused. So he said, I want you to be my friend first, and then when we move from there, we can decide to do what you want to do. If you don't want me, just let me be your friend. And I thought that was strange. You mean you don't want to have sex with me? You mean you don't want to do this and that with me? He said, no, precious. If I want sex, I'm a producer, and I see beautiful, beautiful girls every day, models and everything. So don't worry. If I want sex, I know where to get my sex. Since you want to be friends, I found that was interesting, and we became friends. So he would tell me crazy stuff, and I would laugh, and I would tell him, do you know, I met this guy today. He was just staring, but you know, they don't understand how crazy I am. I'm anti-men. That's what I used to say, you know. But then my ex-husband sent me divorce papers, and that was really painful because it was just hard. And I did the divorce. I said, God, remember you said you hate divorce? I didn't divorce him. He's divorcing me. So I'm telling you that I'm letting him go now, and I need to move on with my life. So when I signed the divorce paper, I felt different. I felt okay because that side was closed. And then at this time, Chris and I have been friends for like 3.5 years, and he has built my image in the music industry. He has like changed everything about me, how I present myself, how not to do this. And it's like he was more like a father role, teaching me things. And I was there for him because he needed like a mother figure. So we became like two best friends, depending on each other. And I realized that I never thought you could find someone like that in your life, that a pillar. He was not competing with who I am as a high, you know, a woman with a high quality of life, but he was actually setting who I was. He was not like the ex-husband saying, who do you think you are? You're going here and there, people are calling you to speak. You're my wife, stay home. And he was not locking me out of the house. He was not bringing me down to the level where I had so much low self-esteem. Sometimes when I dressed, I would cover myself up because I didn't feel beautiful enough to show myself like to the world. So he's like, you're beautiful. You can dress this way and still look like that way and still look like a reverend. So you don't need to cover yourself for people to know you're very holy. So I began to learn how to dress again, how to talk again, how to be confident in myself, how not to bring myself down when people tell me you're doing very well, how to celebrate myself all over again. So he brought the best out of me. And he was the one that brought me to a communication level in the relationship where we can, so we have, when I get offended more, I'll tell you guys the truth. I won't lie, because I'm still learning how to be a good person for a good man. Because all I knew was bad, bad, bad. So now I'm learning how to be a good woman. But that's why it's time to be what he wants me to be. So in the middle of like 3 a.m. in the morning, that's when he wakes me up and says, I need to talk to you about this thing that you know, 3 a.m. in the morning. And then we will start to talk like what Bumi said, you do it face to face. But what he does is he will say, I really need to talk. I'm coming down to your house right now so we can talk. And I'm like, it's 3 a.m. in the morning. He said, Precious, don't push me away. Get these things done. So he's been doing that for 1 year, and I've gotten used to that. So we never pass that 3 a.m. landmark with issues on our head and problems. Like those our communicators and those that spoke to this said, we need to understand that the words and action after what we've done is what we need to always remember. Like the Bible said, you need to learn how to listen before you speak. And I've learned listening is very important into communication, because most of we can be communicating, but if someone else, if that person is not listening, he's not getting or she's not getting. And I've learned with time that men don't talk too much. They speak facts. And women, we talk a lot, and sometimes we miss the point because we're blabbing away. And this guy just only have 5 minutes to hear that thing you want to say. And after 5 minutes, he's not hearing anything you're saying because he moves with facts, and he doesn't move by emotions. And you know, we emotion things. And I like what one of the speakers said. We women, we like to be praised. Women like to wake up in the morning, you say, oh my God, beautiful. Your hair is done. I never got that in my first relationship. So when Chris was doing it, I thought, he is too much. He needs to stop it. What's his problem? He would be like, you're so beautiful. I love your hair. Oh, you changed your hair. You know, and I'm like, don't say those things. Are you trying to get me in bed? You know, that's the kind of things I would say to him. But then I realized that he was actually admiring what is before him. And in turn, I began to say to him, oh my God, you look nice with that haircut. I like it when you wear black, and I like it when you wear like this white t-shirt. Oh, I like this outfit on you. And then what we started doing was, because we were not living together yet, we sent each other texts. And like what someone said, in my text, you can see if I'm angry with him. If he says something to me, I'm coming, and he doesn't come, he will come 1 hour later, but you say you're coming. I've been sitting here waiting. You're not here. So why are you late? And I read something Michelle Obama wrote in her book. She said, Obama used to go to work. Because he used to work, he would send a mess coming home. And he would not come home 2-3 hours later. The food is on the table. She sat there waiting. He's not there. So she called him up and said, the next time you tell me you're coming, be in the car, start the engine. Before 2 minutes, I sit up in that way for you, and I'm getting angry, and I don't want us to get angry. And then she said he wasn't a family-orientated person because he didn't have his mom and his dad. So he had some things lacking in his life that made her to a husband. So with me and Chris, I had to learn how to be a woman that know that a man can love you again. So communicating the things that he communicates to me, I needed to learn how to receive praises, receive good things. Good things can happen to me as well, because by right, that's what the Bible says. Good things will happen to me, and I have to receive it and accept it. So we have a lot of women out. I must something my ex-husband used to say, oh, you got 4 children, no man will want you, you're a leftover, you're this, you're that. But when Chris met me, I did have my 4 children. And he loved my 4 children. He takes them to school and he brings them back. When I called the father to pick them up, oh my God, he's like, I'm working, I can't leave my work. But the guy that is not the father is doing it. So I need to understand that somebody can actually love you. And when we communicate effectively, where we are not, like Bumi said, arguing and fighting. But remember, if Chris is someone that doesn't raise his voice, so God has given me an opposite. He is quiet and he's on his argument very well. And I'm someone that, because maybe the lawyer inside of me is good at just going straight to the point, and I'm done. 5 minutes, I'm done. And then he will go around the whole issue for like 2-3 hours, 1 hour, he's still going. I'm like, but this thing has to stop now. And he's like, no. I haven't gotten to the point. So he's a different type of man. So I've learned to understand that he will never be like me, where in 2 minutes I've told you, this is what you did, it's not fair. And then he will be like, okay, I'm sorry. And then he will be like, this is what you did. And then I'm like, 1 hour later, you're still saying this. So I've learned that that's who he is. And I have to have the patience to listen and absorb everything he's saying. Because if I don't do that, like Bumi rightfully said, it will repeat again. He will come back and say it. Because maybe I might repeat that same thing that I didn't hear he's saying, and it might be a problem in the relationship. So, and one thing we've learned to do is, even though we are not living together yet, we go on holidays. And that's one thing I never knew I could do, because it was not possible. In my previous relationship, my husband said, if you go on a holiday with me, it's like a prostitute going out with a man. Why should I go on a holiday with you when we have a home? But what was lacking is we never had that kind of us moment kind of thing. And that's one thing that I've learned in this relationship. We need to learn to go away with each other. Like, I like what you said, Dana. You had a camp at the back of your house. I was thinking, thank God there's no mosquitoes, so you're lucky to come and be biting you both up, and the rats will be running around. And I was thinking, how would that be? And I thought about, that's a good idea, and I wrote it down. So he's got a back garden, so maybe we can have a camp if there's no mosquitoes or something running around in the garden. And those are things that women don't do these days. And I like those people have 21 years and 20 years of marriage, because this is, everybody wants to just call it a quit, because they don't have this kind of forum to come to. And from our background, we don't communicate a lot, Africans. It's like, after all, I'm just going to shut up and walk away. And then the body language gets worse, and the man is not speaking to the woman. And you find out 2-3 days, you're both not speaking to each other still. And like you rightfully said, the children feast on these things. It is dangerous for them to see you that way, because whatever we put in them is what they're taking outside of us. And they become that in school, and they become that in their relationship. So in my experience, I had to teach my 16-year-old, which is now 20-year-old, that whatever happened to me in my life is not what's going to happen to you. But at this stage, she hasn't got a boyfriend. She's scared of having a boyfriend. She's still intact and still a young, beautiful woman doing law, a 10-year law school. but she still has to. So relationship, he to my, he hugged the way he in your for as long as my happy, and my daughter will be laughing, and she's like, "Me, I'm still convinced you found." And I think trust. So it made me understand that I learn to trust one day. As time goes on, so we do this talking in my house. So you communicate with the children as well, because they've come from a background that is bad. So I got 2 boys, and I wouldn't want them to take the behavior of. I do speak to them as communicate, and I know that this is where we are now. This is what you do to rectify things with your wife in the future. This is what you don't do to your wives. And this is make amends when something goes wrong in your relationship. And I said, life is a learning curve, and we're learning every day. So as we become fit, and like you said, it's a choice that we made. And I had to make the choice to move on. Someone that is understanding what I love to do. Whatever you see me doing now, he's the one that has gave up. I just wanted to raise my children and just work as a teacher. But then he said, you're doing very well. But the right person brings out the best in you. Like I said to you, Dana, the way you're smiling and your kids, you have to stop doing your kitchen. I was saying that to you this morning as well. And those are things that when people look at, it's learning curve as well. So I'm learning to be hugging on him and kissing him as well, because I'm learning fast. Thank you for what you're doing. And there's a good life after a bad life if you wait. Don't jump into something quickly as women when you come. Learn to heal properly and learn how to communicate. So my partner now and I went on a communication, how to communicate. So we learn how not to speak when one person is speaking, not to be angry when one person is angry, and not to bring back the bad things. We did the course, we did it with Scientologists, church, because they do things like that. So we do that all the time so that we'll be able to understand each other. And we are both from the same country, the same country now, so we can understand each other. And that's one thing that I'm grateful for. So there's always hope, there's life after everything. So thank you so much. And I am writing a book. 3 of them. I go for the wisdom, and thank you for having me. God bless you.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow. I mean, like, I'm here and I'm feeling the passion from what you're saying, Precious, especially the fact that you're saying that now you are experiencing things that you didn't experience before. And I'm hearing the heart coming out from your message to our listeners today, and I'm very inspired. There's one thing that you've said that really stood out to me. Your partner is meant to bring out the best in you, and I think that is something that everyone who have a relationship, everyone who's in a relationship needs to really understand, even while they're communicating. You want to speak life into your relationship, you want to speak positivity into the relationship, and most of all, you want to communicate with love. Part of your message reminds me of a book that I wrote. It's Power from Pain. I have it right here. And I too, Precious, I must say that I have been through a failed relationship that didn't work out. And coming into something that is beautiful, it excites me. It makes me want to share it with everyone that I can possibly share it with our women, with young people who are getting into relationships, with older women who've had a failed relationship and would like to move forward. And Nick and I, we're currently working on a book to help couples, key strategies that can help them even in their relationship. So again, we are a work in progress. We are building, but we're hoping that we can inspire other people through our story, through the things, through the lessons that we have learned and those that we are currently learning. So Nick, what do you have to say?
Well, thank you very much, Precious, and to all of our speakers. That's our final speaker. But for Precious, I just really enjoyed hearing you. I believe this is our first event together, and thank you very much for coming to join us.
Thank you.
It really becomes clear that if you allow it, peer pressure can be, or the culture that you're in can have a massive impact on the health and stability of your relationship. And it's something that if sometimes it's something that could be managed, and sometimes it'll lead you down a wrong path and lead you into a lot of difficulties. So it made me really appreciate the significance of that. And as well as that, it's a case of always be a learner in each other's arms, and allow yourself to build each other up and become stronger and have your goals. And even if you see something that's different, and then you approach it with open arms. I really appreciate that about what you were saying. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Definitely. So I haven't seen any other questions from our audience, so we would like to take this opportunity to quickly just share the Loaniglobal support information as promised. So if you need any assistance, we have free consultations going out from the Ladies of All Nations International Global Outreach, and their contact number, Buki, can we get that on the screen? It is 0747-8281693. And you can also reach out via loaniglobal@gmail.com. So guys, if you know someone who needs support, get in touch with Loaniglobal Support. We are part of that team as well, helping in terms of relationship coaching. There are healthcare professionals, there are legal professionals, persons, therapists, counselors, persons from all different backgrounds who are willing to provide advice and support for you. So, oh my God, today has been so fantastic. Hearing from 6 phenomenal speakers. We've heard from Josine Abrahams, who spoke about understanding your partner, speaking with love and care. Then we've had Harpal. And what did Harpal speak about, Nick?
Harpal talked about nonverbal communications and a lot of interesting tips and excellent points to be speaking with your partner, so that and a reminder that if you say something that's perhaps you didn't mean, it's not something that you can take back even if you apologize.
So Seema spoke about supporting each other's ambitions and aligning your goals together, working together even as you communicate. And then we've had Adrija.
And Adrija gave us plenty of interesting points and information, and it was a case of always ensuring to look at the positives, be willing to learn from each other and stay calm, and also to be, if you have to give advice or quote unquote nag to your partner, trying to do so softly, so that it doesn't seem too harsh or too difficult for them to realize.
That's right. And then we've had Buki. Buki spoke about the right time. That is one thing I'm not forgetting. Not criticizing, using positive language, even in terms of technology, guys. This is the age of technology where we sometimes get caught up in technology. Be mindful, switching off the phone when needed, taking time to really communicate when you are calm, when you are not distracted. That is so important. And then we've had our final speaker, who's Precious Story.
And Dr. Precious has given us a whole range of points, and it's a really inspirational story to hear from her. And there's certain nuggets from there, such as don't sleep on anger, always be open for yourself to experience love and be a work in progress, and allow yourself to be that way. So I really appreciate all of our speakers, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Yes, we are so happy that you guys have joined us today. To all of our speakers, and most of all to our listening audience, we really appreciate you taking this time to share with us, even as we discuss communication, because it's all about building happy relationships. So just before we go, my husband and I, we have a few tips to share, but I want you to take this time to think about one thing that you really enjoy about your partner. the thing that pulled you to him or her, the one thing that you loved. I'm going to give you that time to do right now, and give him a big hug, or give her a big hug and a big kiss. All right, guys. So take that with you. We just want to share a few nuggets, and this will be the end of today's seminar. Of course, this is a series, it's an ongoing series of relationship talks. Don't forget to get onto Facebook, and of course, share with us there. You can connect with us there, Relationship Talks. There's a group that's there as well. So Nick, you're up.
So the first nugget in my mind is problems in relationships should be like speed bumps. You slow down to get over them, but you don't let it just stop you from heading on your way to your destination.
All right. And I would like to say, time is the currency of relationships. So consistently invest time into your marriage.
Happiness in marriage is a moment-by-moment choice. It's a decision to love, forgive, and grow together. This moment is always the current moment, and you can always utilize it to show love and care for one another.
And love is a friendship that has caught a fire. It is about quiet understanding, mutual confidence. It's about sharing. It's about forgiving, guys. It is loyalty through good times and through bad times. It settles for less, and it makes allowances for human imperfection. So even though we're imperfect, we can always work on and continue to work on our relationships.
And also we have a nugget, which is to build and surround yourself with friends and allies in order to strengthen your relationship, and that will make everything so much easier.
All right, so connecting to the right source is important. And I would like to leave with this. Ultimately, the bond of all companionship, whether in marriage or in friendship, lies with conversation. So in all that you do, remember to converse well, to communicate well. Look at your actions, look at your verbal, your nonverbal communication. Speak with love, speak in respect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're very happy that you've joined us, and see you next time. God bless you.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Nick. Thank you,
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.